Let's debate it. Did Brett's extensive background in law enforcement give him a false sense of security? Was his law enforcement background, did it feel like the ultimate alibi for him? Starting with Wendy Murphy, author of And Justice for Some.
Well, you know, Jane, I have to believe that he thought that he would have good cover because he thought he was so smart and would rise above suspicion, may even get a little slack from his buddies. But look, there's only so much you can do to make a suicide look like a homicide. And as hard as he tried, and I do think that that's part of why he's going down, he tried so damn hard to make it look like a suicide that every little piece of evidence that points at him takes on even more significance. He tried, but it's not going to work.
Well, okay, Michelle Seskauer for the defense. I mean, this guy had papers in his dining room, on the dining room table, that were from a PowerPoint presentation outlining, well, how do you distinguish homicide from suicide and the ways that a fire can make a suicide and a homicide look like two different things. Exactly what was happening in the house at the time. How incriminating is that, Michelle?
Well, it sounds pretty incriminating, but guess what? Don't you remember some incriminating internet searches that we heard about in the Casey Anthony case? And guess what?
Come on.
Okay,
so different.
Well, you know what? It's a different case, but this is the state side, and we're going to hear from the defense. But again, This is all we're going to be saying. This is a law enforcement officer who is not going to violate the law. They're going to use
John
that.
Lieberman.
Well, look, the problem is this is going to come down to credibility, and Mr. Seacat, he's going to have to take the stand because they're going to try to admit some evidence about how his wife at one point talked about suicide. He's going to have to take the stand. The problem is you're going to have to measure him up against this marriage counselor who he essentially confessed to, and against the wife's friend and all of these very credible people. He will crumble on cross-examination. Mark my words, his story doesn't hold up. He has no blood on his pants. He has no injuries, despite the fact that he claims he goes into the burning house, and walks right by his ex-wife. It doesn't make any sense.
Janet Johnson for the defense.
Okay, well, I have the perfect theory. Here's what they have to say. Not put him on the stand. They have his statement, which is not at all inculpatory, and they have to say that she wanted to frame him, that she was going to kill herself and put this evidence out there and said this to people in order to make it look like he killed her. That's the only explanation you can give. It's not
unbelievable.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
It's true.
This woman loved her children. She wasn't going to commit suicide. She was hopeful. That's why she filed for divorce. She was hopeful about the future. That's not somebody who commits suicide.
They're going to have to play up this depression and possible mental illness. That's what they're going to have to do in order to sell.
There's nothing to play. There's no there. You can't make a defense out of nothing. He won't take the stand because it will only make the jury hate him more, and they'll come back faster with a vengeance. He should sit there and smile and look like Dream Date Ken and see how it goes.
I agree with that, Wendy. I do agree with that.